welcome guys. Welcome to the fitness industry wind down Friday afternoon. This is just a short series, so we encourage you to grab a beer, settle in for the afternoon, and ask questions. Engage with us on each fortnight as we bring together a group of professionals, and we aim to help you to stay on top of your business, providing with the latest information and techniques on how to keep your business moving forward. So we've got Megan Jarvis, and we've got Justin JT Tamsett, and Eddie Griffin. So welcome along, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having us.
So COVID, everyone's dealing well with COVID. We're still here. We're still alive.
Yes, I've got a puppy. That helped.
I got a heartbeat.
You got a heartbeat? Okay, well done, guys. Well done. Well, this afternoon we've got a number of questions, some discussion points here this afternoon. So like I said, we brought together some experts to have a quick talk about what's actually happening in the industry, the fitness and wellness industries, and see if we can make sense of what's actually moving on around the world. So let's start. Let's start with JT, I think, this afternoon. Industry overview. JT, what is going on, mate? What's the latest? What's the gossip out there? Takeovers, mergers, closures, what's news?
Well, I think if it's a Friday wind down, we should all cheers to living in Australia and not anywhere else at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, true.
You know, even though Victoria is in, a horrible predicament, I think the reality is we are, from the people I deal with across the industry, we are kilometres, miles in front of the US. I mean, that really is, quite frankly, a shitstorm. And if you're a US person watching this, I'm so sorry for you. That every state is different. Every state is changing. Every municipality within each state is different. It makes it very hard to run a fitness business there. One governor, the governor of New Jersey, has agreed that gyms can reopen there at 10% of capacity.
Wow.
So the gym owners have said, well, we're not going to open. We can't open at 10% capacity.
At a loss. Yeah.
So it's quite fascinating when you look at the US. It's just the whole mess that's there, and just the guise of which members are living behind or standing behind their in Texas, as an example, they're looking at now taking masks away, but you have to wear a face shield. So they're talking about making face shields mandatory.
Wow.
And they already have masks that are mandatory. And if you're a personal trainer or you work in a gym or you're working out in the gym, you must wear gloves, full-fingered gloves that cover your wrist.
And so you're supposed to exercise with a full shield?
That's correct. Not just that, Eddie, that's like when you zip down to Starbucks as well, you'll be wearing your face shield.
Wow.
So, it's kind of crazy, just the different conditions. So I really think, I know some New Zealanders are doing it really tough with the changes this week. And I know I actually think Victoria's in a good position because they're all closed. And so I think
clear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crystal clear. It's fascinating. Like this week, the COVID marshals have been announced in South Australia. COVID marshals are required for large gyms. What's a large gym? Well, I don't know what a large gym is. Eddie, have you ever met a large gym?
Well, I think if I owned a gym right now, it'd be categorized as a small gym for that reason.
I would think mine would be a small gym as well. So,
I did see the get up of the of what they have to wear when they've got the, what are they, like the full high vis gear.
the high vis thing, yeah.
It looks like something from Ghostbusters. It's hilarious.
It's just,
Those who remember
it's crazy. So I think as an industry, it's been really, really fascinating to look at the different things, Richard. Obviously the big news in the industry, I think, is Club Lime or Viva taking over Plus Fitness. You know, I guess that kind of happened behind the curtain of COVID, and nobody knew what was going on, and all of a sudden, you know, it's just popped out. So I think that's probably the big news of the industry in Australia. In relation to closures, I don't think I've really heard of too many yet, other than some just small studios, which when we did our first round of these, we actually predicted. It's interesting, overseas there's been closures, and we can cover that if we want to a bit later, but I think it's really important that we understand the backstory behind those closures. It's not always what it might look like from the outside looking in. But yeah, I actually think the resilience of the industry has been pretty good. I think we've bounced back well. Western Australia, business as usual. Lots of places in Queensland, Megan, business as usual, would you say?
Yeah, we are really fortunate right now. Queensland's doing really well. But even just what you were discussing, Victoria already, if they're not puffing, like it's written, if they're not puffing and really training, then they need to be wearing a face mask in Victoria right now. So it's an interesting time with how you could also market that. You could be like, look, you really need to come train with us, because then you don't have to wear a face mask as long as you're running and not puffing right now, or like in an actual workout, then you can train in Victoria without a mask. But it's going to get to the point, like you were just discussing, it's really, they're going into, even though it seems like they're coming out right now, it's really tough for a lot of fitness professionals that we have over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, there's lots of really interesting stories out there about, I guess, the fear of people going in and training, and a number of gyms owners that I've spoken to that have been open are probably, the numbers that have returned or in the gyms, probably about between 55 and 60% of what they had pre-COVID, which is really, really interesting. Here in Newcastle, I've never seen so many people walking around the streets, running, cycling, exercising. So, that's got to be a great thing. But as far as businesses go, we need to also understand how do we as business owners, we're from 4 diverse areas of the industry. How do we capitalise on this sort of, and we get our piece of the pie, if you want to call it that. And I think that might be discussion for a little, for maybe the next session. But look, today I think we, in the past, we've addressed a number of issues in relation to cleaning and wellness, and I think it's worthwhile. Just touching base on the fight back, if we want to call it, what are gyms or industries doing to try and fight back against the COVID whilst meeting all of these restrictions that are imposed on them, So there's a lot of new technologies out, there's a lot of new ideas. And I thought today, that's probably a crucial thing for a lot of people. There's a lot of people sort of just hoping that it doesn't walk into their centre. I've helped some industries put together some COVID plans, as they need to do by the regulations. And a lot of them have no real idea. So maybe there's a market out there. Maybe there's people in our areas that can actually help gym owners or the studios or whatever, the wellness centres, put some of this information together in a document that they need to keep and, for regulations. But I just thought today, look, might be really good. There's lots of cool product out there, sprays, foggers, air purifiers, HEPA filters, ionizers, go on, the list goes on. You guys may have come in contact with a lot of these, and I thought it might be good to share that this afternoon, any results, any success stories.
With regards to cleaning and foggers and sprayers?
Yeah. What's working for you guys, Megan? What are you guys doing to say to your members, hey, listen, we're doing as much as we can, to the regulatory bodies, we're doing something,
Yep, for sure. I think that already everyone knows that they're looking at getting the next level of cleaning. So a lot of gyms are fogging. It really depends on what's within their budget and what their clients really expect, because we're seeing differences in each state, and running a gym in New Zealand and Australia both are very different when it comes to regulations and what to expect. But overall, I think everybody's really looking at hand sanitizers as soon as you come in, and they're automatic sprays, so you don't have to use pump bottles, and then you're not touching anything. That's probably one of the biggest changes. We're seeing those in every gym. And then everybody's been keeping up a great job of actually having consistent cleans. Fogging now only takes half an hour of time, so you don't have to close your gym down in the middle of the day, which has been huge. So I think that the cleaning regimen has been really useful. I think probably the biggest thing we're seeing right now that we've got the cleaning down, is our clients and customers, which I know we're going to touch on tonight, mental health, and how even my coaches and everyone else is doing with the uncertainty right now of New Zealand just going back to stage 3 on Wednesday, then them not being able to go into the gym again. So it's like this roller coaster ride of emotions for the coaches, which we're dealing with as fitness owners. And then the other level of that, how do we keep our clients coming back to us, going from online into the gym? This is a super huge component. So I would love to throw that out to the group, discussing how we can really assist in those areas of mental health, because that's probably the biggest one that I've been struggling with myself as a gym owner. But we could also discuss the cleaning any further if you wanted to add to that before we get into it.
Look, I think there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to cleaning, you know, as long as it's, you know, the FDA approved, and you were talking about, you know, budgets and spends, and everybody's hurting at the moment, you know, from the equipment side of the industry. You know, nobody's going to spend any money at the moment, you know, with the uncertainty, I think, you know, moving forward. You know, so, you know, you need to get the best out of what you've got, money-wise, you know, so, and I think the most upfront way that you can actually show people that you are serious about them mental health and the quality of service is you know, is your cleaning regime. Look, I've spoken to a couple of gym owners, and again, I use that word, and I apologise. We shouldn't be calling them gyms. We should be calling them, you know, fitness centres and wellness centres and so forth. But is the owners and the managers themselves are getting out on the floor, being seen to be active, and that in itself has been quite a positive mental health issue for their staff, for their members, to see them out and about, you know, being active in their centres, and I think that's a really cool thing. So look, there's help out there if people are prepared to, you know. I'm sure they can get a hold of us, and we can steer them in different directions for different technology, for different price levels, whatever it needs to, you know, we can do with that. So we touched on mental health, and I know Eddie's great in this area. We all, you know, all of you are, I'm sure. But you know, the thing that I'm hearing out there a lot is, "I'll be right, mate." You know, the good old "she'll be right" syndrome, and I guess, you know, we all need to know that we're all out there and we're looking out for each other, and that's a big thing, you know. So so who do you go to? You know, what do you know, is there, the first thing that I've done in, you know, I've gone out to a group of my mates, and it's only a social thing. You know, we catch up and we train every morning, okay, together as a small group. So there's only 3 of us, and we go and train together, and we go and grab a coffee together.
I thought you looked good, Richard. I was wondering what had happened since the last one we brought up.
Good on you, mate. Thanks, buddy. And you know, and the mental health side of that has been amazing, JT. That, you know, let alone, I mean, the better quality of workout again, you know, rather than just running around the streets as I've done in the past, but, you know, back on the pin loaded equipment, on all that sort of stuff. You know, it's just great. But there's probably a lot of people out there who have nobody to go to. Where do we go to? How do we help?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think we need to be aware of is that people with mental health issues probably won't go to anyone. And one of the trends that I've heard, I was chatting to some organisations the past 2 weeks. As you know, I do some of my work in workers' compensation sort of space. And a lot of the people with mental health issues and with PTSD or previous mental health issues. Apparently, a lot of the organisations were saying to me, so I probably spoke to about 15 different large organisations, government and non-government, and insurers. But they were saying a lot of the people in the first round coped. They coped okay, but the second round, they're not coping. So the number of claims and stuff is going up significantly. And in terms of reference, I know we're not talking about workers' comp, but what that indicated to me is that the people that were okay last time potentially aren't this time. And so if we ask them last time, don't assume they are, you know, and I think that's a real thing that, I mean, I know we all know, but it's easy to forget. And it kind of was a reminder to me to check in with a few people. And I think it's just that asking even more so, because people who've got mental health issues probably won't go and ask for help. And that's the thing. We can tell them where to go. They're probably not going to do it. It's only going to be the close people that will actually, and I know a couple of my mates, I don't know about you guys, but with mental health issues, I almost have to force myself on them because when they're at their worst, they'll say, no, I don't. Yeah, JT, that's exactly what I meant.
And they had the opposite reaction, by the way. You're like,
yeah. No, I don't mean that, you know, okay, we all know the psychology, you don't force yourself on someone, but I just mean, and I didn't mean physically or anything else, things aren't that bad yet, but I just, please shoot me when they are. But no, but I just mean, yeah, I think it was just really around that awareness piece, which we all know. I just wanted to mention that in that, yeah, you kind of have to create those environments that are fun and just say, please come for me, because they'll do it for someone else, but not for themselves, is what I've found personally. I'm not coming from a psychologist point of view there, but just
yeah,
that out there.
And look, interesting, Eddie, you know, as a business person, you know, and we deal with people at a business level sometimes, you know, but what I've done over the last number of months is just pick up the phone and say good day to people. I just tell them, you know, I'm not selling them anything. I'm just ringing up to see how you're going. You know, and quite a few of those people have actually said, hey, listen, thanks very much. You know, and you know, there's a lot of people out there hurting, a lot of staff going around some of the centres that I can go into, but and they're appreciative of you know, people just like us, you know, or gym members just going in and saying, you're doing a great job. You know, you're doing a great job.
And I think one of the challenges now is as well, with the COVID first round, there are a lot of organisations that offer things for free, but a lot of organisations can't now.
Yeah.
So a lot of those freebies. So I think it's really going to be also important that we support each other, even with the cleaning or something, you know, different gyms coming together. If you can't afford it, buy it together, or just, it's going to have to be a lot more collaboration for some people to survive, I think. And I don't know that there's going to be as much. Yes, there's JobKeeper and stuff, but a lot of people aren't able to get that, and then that's going to stop. And then, so I think we're going to have to start getting really creative.
Eddie, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Just from your experience, if I'm a gym owner and I've got my staff, and I go up to my staff and say, are you doing okay? Do you want to have a chat? And you get this standard, I'm fine. When you bring in a third party and that third party then says, how are you doing? Would you say that that person opens up more to the independent person about how they're doing than actually their employer? Like, is there the employee-employer relationship inhibiting that?
I love the way you brought JT, because I know you know the answer to that and you're spot on in that, yes, there's a lot of stigma still in Australia. All of the research shows that around mental health. Even though we talk about it now, there's still stigma. They still do surveys that say, you know, I didn't want to go to my boss because they're worried, particularly at the moment, people are terrified about their job. If they think I'm unstable, I'm high risk, they might get rid of me first. I'm not going to tell them I'm feeling unstable. And I've got to, and there's also that Aussie culture of, you know, should be right, I've got to be right, I'll be right, I'm strong, I'm tough. But definitely there's always that, my boss, there's also the personalities that like, my boss is already stressed, they don't need to hear that I'm stressed as well.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that one, yeah.
So depending on the personality type, but I think it's a really great point that you bring up, because we're all more comfortable talking to, you know, how many times, I don't know about you, but I've told a stranger some of my deepest problems, but I won't tell my close mates because I know I'll never see them again. That I think that can be really good, and even some of the webinars, a lot of people are doing resilience webinars, like doing those polls in those group oversight of how are you feeling today, and you know, people are probably more honest when they think it's a bit more sort of lighthearted and it's like, oh, I'm feeling terrible. You look at those sorts of scales. There's lots of different approaches you can have, and even a survey that is, I can't think of the word, that doesn't say who you are. I've just lost that. Sorry about that.
That would be anonymous.
Thank you very much. It's a huge word. I just gone, totally gone.
It is Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I know. God, how embarrassing. Thank you, JT.
Quick,
So yeah, anonymous surveys and stuff are great because it gives you an indication of
We're talking
the
about a specific survey. I was like, oh, which survey is she talking about? Myers-Briggs, maybe this, and it was like,
No. Literally, how are you feeling? Like it's sort of a resilience talk or an EQ chat, and it's just how's the team feeling today, and chuck it out there on a poll, and or put it in a survey, and hey, we're just getting a bit of a feel of what's going on, and it's anonymous, and then you kind of get a little bit more honesty than if you go one-to-one. You know what? If my boss ever asked how I was feeling in the past, I probably wouldn't. I'm probably not going to be that. It's like, well,
and it's
what
almost
are they
only
going to do
your
about
business.
it?
Yeah, but I think the
it's
role is too, guys, is it's not just for the bosses. Like quite often we think that our managers should ask those questions. Are you okay? It's each one of us. It's as an individual. I mean, Megan, you're a pretty sharp business operator. I mean, what do do you go out in amongst your staff and sort of have a chat with your staff? I mean, people do have off days, and the different personalities are that they are going to open up, and some are going to stay closed, and some just don't care, but in your situation, you're first hand, I would imagine, feet on the ground in amongst it all.
I would say probably the biggest learning point or curve I've had during these times is the trust that you have between yourself and your coaches. It goes so far. It's really deep. It goes into what we were discussing with regards to mental health, and if they're able to actually speak to you. It goes really far into if they're going to stay with you during times of uncertainty when your hours are getting thrown around. Okay, we're going back up. Okay, no, you're not going in this week in New Zealand. It's, having the trust within the team has been absolutely huge. I got asked the other day, what's the biggest thing that you learned during COVID? And it was that the people around you are the most important component to your business. And without trust, it can be broken really quickly. So I've learned that. And so that's probably one of the biggest things. Yes, communicating and ensuring that communication is within your team has been a huge one. And going back to your question, which was, really brilliantly stated, and great, and I loved your answer, Eddie. I think bringing in a third party has been really useful so that my coaches can speak to somebody else other than to me. Even though we have that trust, bringing in someone else is huge. And a lot of the time, I got asked recently, how did you choose a third party? And my intuition or gut instinct is always how well they listen to me when if I'm speaking to that third party that's coming in to counsel my team or speak on any mental health issues, how much space they're holding, how much eye contact they're having, because that ultimately, that person at the party when you're drinking and you end up spending 3 hours in the corner, that is usually Eddie or myself.
Does that go back to Eddie throwing herself on somebody?
It did end up in a secret bar in Melbourne, which will not be open for a long time, that had a bookshelf that you had to pull a book down to get down to it. So, I mean, it was an extended long evening for sure, but it's
really, you're making it much worse, Megan. Yeah, that's where I hang out. It's not helping.
Googling these after. The best thing is really choosing a good person to come in and speak to your team. That's been huge. And going even back to what we were initially discussing about the actual, ensuring that we're staying alive right now, two of the biggest things are related to mental health. With regards to clients, we've been reaching out to clients that we had 5, 6 months ago, 12 months ago, and just asking exactly like what you said, Richard, are you okay? How are you doing? How's your family going? And they're actually coming back in now. And we found that to be our greatest lead generator, is really just asking how people are doing. Even if you hadn't spoken to them in 5 years, now's the time to reach out. And you're really bringing in that that element of, you know, we care. It's not just about the gym or the studio or the fitness center. And if possible, right now is, on a side note, a great time to make some pivots, bring in some different mindset tools, some things that I know Eddie's developing in the background right now, mindfulness, because people are really learning and getting into staying grounded, breathing. The importance of breath has come in because of COVID. So all of the things that people said no to before, they're now saying, okay, you know, if I can't go to the gym, I'm actually open to hearing this. So I just wanted to touch on that quickly too.
Can I just say one thing around that as well? That's awesome tips, Meg. That's great. I think it's like you said, you're bringing in a lot of the stuff, which is brilliant. And I think that's a perfect example of just normalizing. I think that we have to assume that the best approach is to assume that everyone has mental health challenges and bring it all in without needing to ask, because the person with real mental health won't speak up. And EAP counselling services have a very low uptake. We know that. So people often won't say they've got a problem and go to the counsellor if you offer that. And so just bringing it all in, like you're saying, Megan, I totally agree, is just assume that there are mental health challenges. There's enough research that's saying that is the case in the majority of the population. So I think we just need to, all right, I don't need to actually ask you. Yes, I'll ask you. And if you talk to me, brilliant, we're going to have that deeper connection. We can help even more. But if I have those personalities that won't tell me, what do we do? Let's just do that anyway. And that's the norm, you know. I think it's kind of enough now that first round we could get away with not doing as much, but just for staff anyway.
And interestingly, Eddie, people deal with stress in different ways, you know, like it's like pain, you know, if you've ever been to the doctor and, you know, and they say, you know, can you, a level of 1 to 10, you know, what is pain, you know, to you? Well, a level 10 to you might be a level 5 to JT. And so stress is the same sort of thing, you know. We all deal with it. We can all take different amounts of it, and the challenge, I think, is for us as business owners, as we look at our mates or our staff or people around us, is that to try and gear them up, educate them that there are solutions, you know, that there's anything from a Band-Aid right through to stitches, you know. So we need to be able to know as leaders where to steer those people to and how to actually engage them in those sorts of programs. You know, not everybody's going to go to those sorts of things. It's a little bit like the old AA analogy, you know, like, you know, people go along, go to the first one, oh, it's all too much, you know, never go again. And it's the same with this. We need to be able to skill those people to actually be able to deal with these issues, because you know what? I think this is going to be the new norm. You know, even Mr. Putin's magic serum, you know, and mate, good luck to him if it works. Fan-bloody-tastic. I don't care where it comes from.
Well,
but yeah.
I did see a great meme yesterday with Putin, and his vaccination was Stolichnaya vodka.
All right, I'll take part in that one.
I think that's the placebo one.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll do me.
So you know, so but I think this is the new norm, and I think we need to start looking at how do we skill ourselves and our staff to live in this new norm. Maybe
is anyone butting up their staff? Like, I know it's with a small team easy because you probably have strong relationships, but you know, when your team starts getting larger, it's very hard to keep a tab on as a manager who's got a team of 15, 20, 30 up to 50. You know, I don't know, JT, Megan, like, are there other big gyms is there some sort of programming going on with bringing together groups or buddy programs or things like that to keep staff?
I think there's departments where department managers are bringing teams together. I actually quite like the idea of a partner support mechanism, Eddie. I don't think that I haven't heard of anybody doing that. I think that's quite a cool idea.
Mm.
And there'd be some different ways you could do that. Definitely. Yeah, I like that.
Mm.
I mean, I think the biggest thing is that we're communicating via Zoom all the time and doing Zoom meetings. So that's been great. And I mean, having the ability to communicate to your team is huge. And you need to be able to know that it could, you know, you could go back into lockdown. Using Zoom and things like that are not, you have to be using them now. It's not a thing of, oh, maybe I'll get on it. It's a thing of the now. So having that, having two teammates like as accountability partners, I think that really bringing in a third party has been a huge help, where they can actually speak to somebody if they're having problems, but also somebody speaking to them.
Is that like an EAP counselling, or is it structured conversations, or how are you structuring that? Interestingly, because that's great to hear it's working.
With them, we're doing 15-minute sessions once per week. But within our corporate wellness business, we do something called a mindful minute, and we've been doing those weekly, and within a group of 5. And then after that, they break off, and basically whoever would like to go and speak to the person on site, and that can be a kinesiologist or a fitness coach. They can go in, speak to them, and then that person leaves, and they get a 15-minute block. So we're moving.
Okay, so that's for your clients within the.
That part is, but within Wellcore, we have somebody that's doing a Zoom with our individual coaches once a month right now.
Yeah, cool. And that's working well. That's interesting. They're doing it on Zoom. Cool.
Yeah, because it's New Zealand and Australia.
Awesome.
In different states.
So is it worthwhile also, you know, our clients coming in, our members coming into the centres, is it worthwhile having that information available in a flyer or a document placed around? You know, I know there's lots of organisations you can reach out to, Beyond Blue, so on and so forth. Is it worthwhile getting them to send us some information and saying, you know, we never know. People come into the centres, pick up that information, go away, and maybe if it's not for them, it might be for somebody else. You know, it's a, you know, one of the gyms that I did again, sorry guys, fitness centres, you know, he has a number of face masks available on the counter, and you know, they're there for sale, but it's really as a service as well. And you know, I think that's a really cool idea. I think you know, there's lots of other avenues, things that we can actually do to reach out in the community and to our members. You know,
that's a great.
They come into our centres. Yeah.
Like having information, the number of times, I don't know about you guys with clients, when I had my fitness center, that they would say that they hadn't realized that they had mental health issues, or they hadn't realized they had those problems, or they read the flyer that we have at front desk. So I think that's a really great thing, a reminder to have those information handouts on, you know, what does it look like? One, from an awareness point of view, or I remember one woman in particular saying she hadn't realized that her daughter had issues with mental health until she read the flyer. So it's that awareness that you can, might be directly to your client, or it might be someone there around that they go, you know, I do think mental health awareness has improved a lot, because there's been so much in the media, thankfully. But it, you know, it never hurts. We can all read it. I still find myself reading anything I see in case there's something I missed. You know, it's only going to expand our awareness, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and also, you know, a lot of places advertise on the TV within the centres and whatnot as well. That's a great opportunity for the owner to put a message out there to say, you know, yes, be COVID aware, but if you are struggling, you know, with lockdowns or with financial issues, you know, that there is help. And I think that's a great little outreach to the community as well.
And I think there's also other things that stem from mental health. So the awareness as well around eating disorders, drinking, drug addictions, abuse. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's flowing through that we're hearing about in all the stats as well, that, again, more education on that for people to notice. You know, is one of my mates having this going on, and how do I know if that's a problem, and what do I do, and who do I go to? Because even you know, with Eating Disorders Australia, I know when I spoke to them a couple of years ago, they had a whole lot of great collateral that you can put out there for people to recognise eating disorders and things like that. Because as you said a minute ago, Rich, people handle stress really differently. And so, you know, the outcomes, unfortunately, stress is one thing, but then it tends to go into different disorders, unfortunately, whether that be destructive to themselves or others. So, yeah, I think there's a whole piece or opportunity to an extent for fitness centres or wellness centres to provide that sort of hub of education, and then potentially have further talks, because, yeah, the stats have come out, certainly in Australia, and I'm sure it's worldwide.
I think the key, Eddie, is that the clubs are consistent. So I don't think, in which gyms or clubs, whatever you want to call it, whatever size business, are really good at going gung-ho for the first week, maybe 10 days. But this is something that you've got to commit to, whether it's a social media post every Wednesday that we're going to have a focus on some sort of mental health issue with a link in order to get to whatever website, whatever it may be. But it's got to be a long-term commitment to the community that we're going to educate you on these things, not we're going to pump a whole bunch of information out in 10 days and then we're not going to talk about it for 3 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally.
Well, guys, I saw an interview during the week, and it was a lady that went into the lockdown. So she came down, she'd come back from overseas, and she said that she knew that she had to go into this 14-day lockdown in a motel, and she said, you know, mentally, she said, you know, I'm going, hey, this is cool, you know, I can do this. And then she said, when I was in there, that's when it really started to go, I got 14 days of this, you know, and she said that the mental battle for her, like being in this lockdown, was very, very severe, you know. So she was looking for every angle to sort of do something, you know, but I think she said she made the bed like a dozen times a day just to try and keep her, you know, keep active, you know, but yeah, so I mean, here we are as business owners, you know, and I think, you know, the mental issue for the business owners is more about shit, you know, the landlord's going to be on my back, the bank manager's on my back, you know, I've got to pay this staff, you know, and they're real keys to the whole infrastructure of the, you know. So you take one of those guys out, you know, for a week, fortnight, gee, what's the impact on the rest of the staff, you know, the clients that go and so forth, you know. So there's some real struggles happening in there, and I don't think that we're really going to see the impact of this probably for another couple of months. Well, I think we're just starting to see a little bit of it happening now. Victoria going back into lockdown, and I think the scary part is that what's going to be shaken out of there, what's going to survive.
Well, I think it's being, as we said, I think last time, you know, being ahead of the ball, as you're saying, Rich, you know, it's better to plan ahead and say, okay, what if now, and wait till 2 months and then go, I'm in real strife, or in 3 months, or at Christmas when the JobKeeper's.
Yeah, you know, so you know, as a business owner, we need to look at where our issues are, and we need to not step away from them. You know, we need to find solutions to those answers. And I know that a number of guys have been struggling because, you know, banks are not lending money as freely as they were, say, maybe. You know, the equipment's maybe breaking down, you know, and they've got to find solutions for that, you know. And some of the centres I know have sold an awful lot of spare equipment, which has worked okay for them. But now it's at a point, you know, if they're getting 60% of their memberships back and they've sold their treadmills or some of their treadmills, you know, how do I replace those? And it's those mental battles that are going on, you know, of a night time, you know, 2 o'clock in the morning, wake up and my God, how do I deal with this? And then we've got the other issues that, and you touched on a little bit there, Eddie, with the alcohol and drugs, but domestic violence. you know, is also an area, and I don't think people really fully understand what domestic violence is. You know, they think of the physical. I don't think they think of the mental and the anguish that comes along. You know, so it's a tough topic in itself. You know, but if anybody's out there and maybe they're hearing this, please, please, please go and get some help. You know, ask around, you know, whatever, you know, because it's a real thing. And another issue, and I know it's not spoken about much, and I've lost a number of friends to this, but suicides, you know, and it is something that is not spoken about, you know, and it is real, it is happening. And I think, you know, as people, we just need to keep asking that question, are you okay? How can we help? What can we do?
Yeah, 100%. And
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, we're all aware it's happening right now, and we know that we are the people that are trying to fight it. And even when you're touching on what's coming out in the news and how, you know, we're making people aware of staying safe when it comes to hygiene, wearing masks, I mean, it's fantastic that we're making sure people are staying safe and wearing masks, but we're not addressing the problem. We need to be healthy and fit. I mean, 50% of the people out there don't want to take the vaccine.
Sorry, we're losing Queensland. We keep losing it there, Megan. I think the border. I think something issue with the border. You know, about crossing that border up there. Bloody Queenslanders! They've stopped us from even the internet crossing the border, Eddie. Hey.
Okay. Looked like you were making a really good point though, because we saw your hands. So
it was an intense one. Yeah. Am I still cutting out?
No, we got you back.
Okay, cool. I'll try again. That 50% of the people, I'm not sure where you were able to hear up to, but I was just discussing that we are the people actually trying to fight COVID with regards to health and fitness. And 50% of the people wearing the masks and everything else don't want to take the actual vaccine when we get it anyways, which means they need to be fit and healthy in order to continue going. And we all know that. And it's like, what? Like, we're preaching wearing masks while you train, et cetera, et cetera. So I think, although as fitness business owners or anybody in our industry, we can spend our time thinking about, I mean, it's great to have a 3-month plan and look at the different grants coming out and be prepared 110%. But also look at, I mean, Eddie, you've given me some great advice around here. What are you really good at? Go back to what you're really good at, do that again. And then how can you, and keep doing that, because that will maintain your clients, or bring in some ones that you didn't have before. But those new clients, you need to be already thinking right now, everybody's awakening to fitness being the thing that I need to do to be healthy. And ultimately we're at that time right now. Victoria, if they start coming out of this, you know, we need to be acting in full force as fitness professionals, that we're the cure. We are here to actually assist with the number one thing that everybody's saying, just cover up, do hygiene, right now, wait for a vaccine and remain insecure. And JT, I know I have a bit of I'm conflicted with, I love a comment that you made on a previous show. So you said, do you like that I call this a show, by the way? It's the Friday Night Wine Down show. It's on a previous episode.
No worries, Oprah.
You mentioned, and I think, I mean, I hold this really close to my heart. If you are in dire straits, you need to know when to close the door as a business owner, and you need to just make that decision. And it might be the hardest decision of your life. But my dad, like, during tough times, always said, when the tough gets going, the going gets tough. And right now, if you've already survived, you're doing well, you've made it to this point. Now it's time to dig in, go into different elements. If you've got time on your hands, you should be pivoting, utilizing some of the things that we mentioned with regards to mindfulness, reaching out to those previous clients, bringing in new elements to your fitness business. I feel like it's the last time of like that we should be laying down. We should be like firing up right now. So that was my little spiel. That's why I was waving my hands earlier.
Yeah, cool. I totally agree, and I love your passion There is one element though that I think we have to recognize. I don't want to be a downer on it because it's very positive and it's really great. But there is fatigue from, there's
Yes, burnout.
fatigue from the change, from the stress, and that is real. So I just know when I've been under stress, and particularly financial stress, it's really hard to be creative. So I think there's that check-in, as you said, and as JT said, know where you're at, of, okay, I'm feeling down. I can't think. You're not creative. When you're stressed, you're not creative. You don't have energy. It's trouble getting out of bed. It's all of those things. So if you find yourself in that space, it's kind of going, okay, who do I need to pull in? Who do I get in from the outside? Do I ring up Megan because she's full of passion and super excited? Or who's my go-to to lift me up? And I think that's where the industry needs to help one another, because unlike the first round, it was like, yeah, go push through, push through, push through. A lot of people are exhausted, and I don't know whether push through for everyone is going to work, because push through could just lead to burnout.
Mm-hmm.
So, I totally agree with your passion's friggin' awesome. And if you can do it that way, unreal. I just know some people I've spoken to are really struggling, and pushing through actually probably isn't going to help. They need to get some clear strategy. They need to get someone in there who knows their numbers. They need to get some really good advice, and they're not thinking clearly. So it's like, get someone else to help now, because you're not thinking rationally and it's emotional, So it's kind of the two, I think bring in someone who can help, whoever that is, bring in that passion, bring in that stuff to get you back into that energy, or to help carry you through. I don't know what you think, JT. You're chatting to a few gyms as well.
Well, I think it's a funny old situation, because like we said right at the beginning, it's business as usual in Western Australia. It's business as usual in South Australia, business as usual in the Northern Territory, near enough to business as usual in Queensland, near enough to business as usual in New South Wales and the ACT and Tasmania. Really, Victoria is the difference. Yet every other state has business owners, not just in our industry, that is blaming COVID. And so we're hiding behind the COVID curtain instead of coming out and going, well, that was fucking yesterday. Let's move on. Let's get back into business. Let's get back on the road. Clubs have stopped marketing. Clubs have stopped telling people that they're open. Clubs have stopped telling people how they can help. So, of course, business is going to drop. So, but why would it should? Unless you're in a CBD, like I think CBD clubs are going to struggle for 12 months because people are working from home and they're not going into Brisbane City or Sydney City to work, which means suburban clubs, there's opportunities there. Like,
correct.
I think as business owners, I agree, Eddie, for people in Victoria, they used all their energy to reopen, and then 10 days later, they're closed. And there are people down there that are, yes, mentally doing it tough, yes, financially doing it tough. Others are in good situations. But for the rest of the country, we're back open. And if we keep sitting in that pit of misery and having a pity party, then mentally we're going to get burnt. Mentally we're going to get depressed. Like we need to get back out there. We need to be going, all right, well, how can I change the health of my community? Because we are back open. We do have people coming in, and there are clubs that are still selling memberships. We know that. So why aren't you guys, or why aren't you selling personal training? I've got personal training businesses that I work with who are oversubscribed. Like they're at 110, 120% capacity and hoping clients cancel each week so that they can just deal with all their clients that they would in a week.
Yeah.
They're not hiding. They're out there saying, here we are. So I think as an industry and as a society, all our businesses, and the media don't help with this, they propagate that our life sucks at the moment because of COVID. Well, yeah, it's not great and it's not normal, but it's as normal as we're going to get at the moment. So let's try to make some sort of hay while the sun's shining. It's not our normal hay, but let's make some.
That's
Yeah.
correct, JT. Look, again, you know, your enthusiasm and Megan and Eddie, you touched on something there before, you know, and you know, there's people out there who wake up in the morning and go, "What am I doing? Waking up this morning? What am I meant to be doing? What direction am I supposed to be going?" You know, look, and the media has a lot to answer for. You know, wouldn't it be great to have some positive, lovely, positive stories out there, mate? I don't even turn on the news, you know, I don't listen to the rubbish, you know, because I reckon that if it's serious enough, somebody's going to tell me.
Well, Ninja Warrior, someone won 400K this week. We made it top category on
Yeah.
this shift in.
And
Yeah.
I thought it
We did the same thing. We did the same thing.
I think
Yeah, we did the same thing.
you must have had a few messages this week, Megan.
But look, interesting, and I think we can all reach out and do things. You know, I was on the Central Coast talking to some people, and one of the guys started to talk about, you know, they're in a boxing club, and they were struggling. You know, like they've got quite a good membership in this little boxing club, and they wanted to look at buying equipment, getting grants and whatnot. And I said to them, "Hey, listen, guys, just go down and see these guys down the road as a club, you know, and talk to the fitness owner down there, the centre down there," and they did, you know, and the owners now got, it's a win-win. So, you know, they've come up with a deal that's a win-win for them both. So one's ended up with 25 new members, and the other guys ended up, you know, having access to modern equipment that meets the needs of the boxers, you know. And yes, he's taken a little bit off his membership to that club, whatever. But you know what? It's turned out fantastic, and they love each other, and they're looking to expand and take that model to some other places, you know. And I think we all need to be aware, you know, that even though, look, and where we live, another example was that I went to a function in the Hunter Valley with a group of wine owners up there. It was a fantastic evening. They were,
Of course it was.
yeah. That was before the wine, of course, JT. But and there was a lot of owners of wineries up there. And what really impressed me was that even though they're competitors, they looked after each other. And I think that's what we've got to do in this industry as well. Even though we're competitors, we've got to look after each other, because if Joe goes down the road, you know, how our centres are not big enough to look after all of these people that want to go to gyms. They'll walk away. You know, they'll walk away. And here we are, you know, we've got a solution that, you know, you want to welcome everybody in the industry and go, how do we work together? What's success for you can be success for somebody else. There's lots of room out there for us all. I don't know, you and JT, you might know the exact numbers of people coming into centres. You know, is it 15% of Australians go to work out?
No, I think it's probably closer to 22% now.
Okay, what would be?
I mean, we haven't really grown that too much.
No.
Yeah.
No, agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. So I think, look, I think there is that I think the utopian view is there should be collaboration, but I think the reality is it's not going to happen. I think the pain has to be much greater than it currently is if clubs are going to collaborate. And we're certainly seeing that in the US with alliances for each state being formed to navigate their way through the political mire. They've had to get together. I think one of the key things in Australia where we can collaborate, I think this is probably where Fitness Australia probably really needs to step up, is they need to step up in their lobbying movements. And so as industry people, we almost all need to put a new line on our expense sheet or our expense line, which would be something like political fighting fund. And there needs to be set up a trust or something that protects that money, where we put our money in and we know that money is going towards lobbying either a state government or a federal government because I think what this has shown categorically is the government simply does not understand the fitness industry, doesn't understand what we can do. It doesn't understand the variety of fitness businesses. It doesn't understand what we like, our cleanliness and hygiene that we were doing originally. So we really need to educate the politicians, as opposed to the politicians arbitrarily making decisions around our industry. So we need to take control. And I think that's, Richard, where we can collaborate. And that's where we must collaborate if we're going to have a stronger future moving forward.
Look, I agree, JT. And if you talk to a lot of the people in the industry, you know, they don't have the time to go out and do a lot of these things. And maybe the task for this week is I'll go and knock on some doors, you know, and talk to some of the people that know in government land or whatever, and start to pull these sorts of things together. You know, everyone is busy. I talk to some of the people, the politicians, and everyone's super busy, you know, but you know what? That's all bullshit. Because if they really cared about their constituents, and they would take the time out to listen and to engage with them. And so look, I mean, that's great. I'm glad that you guys are on the same mindset and the same path, because, you know, I've thought about this for a long time, and I think the time's right.
Let's do the maths. Let's say there's 4,000 fitness businesses of varying sizes around Australia. And if 4,000 businesses put in $1,000, how much is that? That's 400. That's $4 million. That's not a bad fighting fund to take on the government to lobby different things. And when we're coming into elections in Queensland, as an example, a health club could swing an election. So if one politician is saying, I'm going to do this for the fitness industry, that could swing a seat, which could then swing the full election. So as an industry, we need to be more politically savvy. We need to be more politically aggressive. But we also need to know that when I put that $1,000 in as a club, that's going to a fighting fund. It's not going into consolidated revenue to fund whatever else. So there needs to be protection of that money. And some clubs may not be able to put in 1,000, but even if they only put in 500 and we've got 4,000 clubs, there's $2 million. Like, that's a bucket load of cash that as an industry we could do some really lobby pretty hard to make some decisions with, but it's got to be all in. It can't be 20% in.
I love this idea, and I think if Taylor Swift can do it, so can we. So I'm ready for that. I just want to add before we go, because I know we're running out of time. Like, I agree, JT. I don't see a full collaboration of the industry, but for, you know, fitness industry owners and leaders, I think a lot of people don't believe that we can reach out to each other, and there is a lot of higher connections that you don't even realize are going on within our industry. And it also kind of goes back to what we were discussing earlier, Eddie, how to handle mental stress right now as a fitness business owner is to reach out to people that are still doing well. And like, you'd be surprised how many, like, look at all of us right now. We would happily answer any questions and assist people if they need, you know, guidance in certain areas. So right now is the time to reach out to people that you look up to, people that you can see on social media, whatever avenue, LinkedIn, that are still running their business, and go, what are you doing that I'm not? And it's not a time to rest on your laurels, like you were saying, JT. It's a time to do that. Like, you need to be doing that if you're not actually being able to market and things because you went in reverse over COVID. So I think that if we do come together in the form that you're suggesting, it will be because we connect as leaders like we're doing right now, but also just like reaching out, asking what other people are doing. we're actually really helpful and want other gyms to succeed. It's just
Yeah.
that they're not readily available to go, here, take my clients. That even feels a little bit, oh, to me, right? It's like, I worked really hard to bring those clients in. But I love to help other people in our industry because we're all fighting the same cause and we want more gyms to be around. So yeah, I wanted to leave on that point.
Okay, guys. Look, absolutely fantastic discussion. I really enjoyed it this afternoon, and like you say, everybody here, look, please reach out if anybody's got any questions listening here tonight, this afternoon. Please reach out, and we'll steer you, direct you, do whatever we can to try and help you, you know, within the industry. Guys, we've touched on some really good subjects here. So let's look forward to a fortnight. Spread the word. Let's see if we've got some people out there that are interested in maybe coming on and you know, a few discussions that we might know, whether it is in mental health or, you know, whatever it is that we need to discuss. But guys, fantastic. Great to see you all again. It's you know, all the smiling faces. And hey, listen, keep an eye out on and I love some of these things, you know, on the YouTubes and the TikToks, you know, with the funny skits in relation to the COVIDs and
Did he say he's on TikTok?
God, I don't even know what TikTok really is.
It's a Chinese data collection agency.
Yeah.
like they really want to know about you, Eddie. So I mean, you know, but anyway, I don't know anything about that technology bullshit. But anyway, look, and you know, share them around because people are having a great laugh. You know, I mean, with some of this thing, we've got to spread the love, you know, and have some fun, guys. But anyway, stay in touch. Let's talk again.
Cheers.
And yep, yeah, cheers. Good on you guys.
Cheers. Next time.
Next one.
Yes, yeah.
Tell us to get a drink.
No, we're happy you did. Yeah. See you next time. Thanks.
Good on you guys. Have a good weekend.